Hey everybody, it's Will. Welcome to Vinyl Appreciation Society Original Classics. Hey, all right, so we have Chris again in the studio with us.
Hello.
Very exciting. We always have awesome records when Chris is here. And Chris brought something in for us to check out. Hey, look, it's Blonde on Blonde. All right. We're both really big Dylan fans. I think we can say that, right? Although I would add the caveat that this is the last Dylan album that I really, really love. And after this,
damn shame.
I don't even know if I don't even really listen. Like even
Dude,
the Blood on the Tracks, is that what it's called?
Oh god, there's great stuff in between there too.
I don't even listen to that album. I know it's horrible, but like after this record, there's just something that sounds fundamentally different to me about it.
It is fundamentally different. It's pastoral Bob. He's got the high country voice for a couple albums.
But I would say up until this album, Dylan is one of my favorite artists of all time. And we were talking earlier, I have like, I think 6 or 7 of like the official bootleg releases, like the box set CD things from up till this era. And I just love it. And then after that, I'm just not that familiar. I don't know. I've listened to some of the records. But let's talk about Blonde on Blonde.
Sure. So Bob Johnston.
Can I have a gander? This is an original copy,
This
right?
is an original pressing from 1966. I guess I should start with how I got it.
Out of frame? I don't know. We'll see.
It's probably fine.
There's that.
I got this my freshman year in college. I was starting to collect records. I was kind of just scouring Craigslist. And this woman had said her father passed away, and she was giving away all his records, and she had Bob's first, 8 albums. And I responded, said, hey, I don't have very much money, but I could give you a couple $100 for them. And she said, sure, when can you pick them up? I'm like, oh, well, I don't have a car, so when can you meet me and drop them off to me? So she ended up coming.
Beast, you're making her bring them to you.
So she drove to me, and she got out of the car, and she said, the second person, you're the first person to follow up, and the second person offered me $1,000 or something crazy. And I just felt wrong taking that, so I just want you to have them. What? She wouldn't let me pay for them. So,
what?
Thank
you, madam.
I don't know her name or anything.
Wow, it's like an angel bestowed upon you by the gods of music.
But anyways, thank you very much.
But this is in really good condition too.
Yeah.
Do you still have all the other ones?
Yeah, I've let people borrow them, and they're all over the place.
Vanished into the ether. Yeah.
But yeah, this Bob Johnston is the producer on Highway 61, and he brought a musician named Charlie McCoy into the sessions up in New York, and up from Tennessee. And Bob really liked working with him. So Bob Johnston got Bob Dylan to come down to Nashville to record. And then he recorded his next 3 albums down there, or next 4 albums down there. Nashville Skyline, John Wesley Harding, and maybe Self Portrait.
Is John Wesley Harding after Nashville Skyline?
I think it's before.
Because I like that one.
Yeah, it's a great
guess
album.
I should
It's
add
great storytelling.
I do like that album.
The scope of the
Al
music.
Cooper on here?
Yeah, Al Cooper.
Is, so
yeah. He brought Al and Robbie Robertson down.
On a previous episode that we shot with Chris, I talked about seeing the keyboard or the organist from Like a Rolling Stone at a movie theater in Santa Monica. It's Al Cooper. I just can't remember his name. Yeah.
So Bob fell in love with the Nashville scene and all those session musicians, and these guys would just sit around and play cards all day. They'd come in at noon. Bob would be dinking around with the lyrics until 3 a.m. They would do a couple takes and then go home at 5 and be back again at noon the next day. And
sounds like a good life. Was this before, after, or during the amphetamine days? I
don't know much about his involvement with drugs. But yeah, tell me more.
I think it's in.
This is leading up to the motorcycle accident.
Yeah, what's the movie? God, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. No, the documentary, the Pennebaker.
Oh, Don't Look Back?
Yeah, there's something in Don't Look Back about speed or someone doing speed.
Oh, really?
It's never explicitly said.
Is it with Donovan or
you
something?
You can kind of read between the lines that there's speed going on.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's also a really great photo somewhere of Dylan like this like drinking a cup of coffee or something, and it's very obvious that he's coming off of like some kind of binge on something that had him flying high for days. But let's talk about the music. I mean, that's why we love Dylan, right? There's so many great fucking songs on this album.
Dude, yeah, I mean, everybody knows the first track, Rainy Day Women, number 12 and 35. That it's got like I guess Bob wanted a Salvation Army sound, is what he said. And Charlie McCoy, who multi-instrumentalist, he said, does it have to be good? And you're like, no, it can be loose. It's Salvation Army. And he's like, oh, well, I'll play the trombone then. Like, so
Awesome.
he whips out a trombone. So that song is super loose, and then you get into, was it Pledging My Time, Visions of Joanna? I think,
which I was playing you before we started shooting. So on the official bootleg from this era that has B-sides and alternate takes and demos and stuff, there's a version of Visions of Johanna that's electric and pretty fast. And Chris said it sounds like Patti Smith, which it does. I never thought about that before. I just thought of it as like the punked up version of Visions of Johanna, but it really does sound like Patti Smith.
Yeah, Visions of Joanna was the first track they recorded, I believe, for the sessions, and it came in at like 7.5 minutes, and everyone was like, "Okay, this is not going to be a single album."
Yeah,
I think this is actually the
song.
first rock. I don't think of this as a rock album, but
yeah,
everybody does. This is the first like rock double album.
Is it? So it's before the White Album.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what
this is 1966.
What would you
White
call
Album was
this?
1968, right? Or 60.
Sgt. Pepper was 67, right? So then Revolver was 66, right?
So 60.
So then
I think it's
68,
68. Yeah.
And what was the song that you were telling me that you Fourth Time Around?
Fourth Time Around.
Tell us about that one.
There's just these kind of like circular guitars sort of spinning around, Bob. It's just really kind of light, and I don't know. Like
There's very beautiful arpeggios.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And lest we forget, leopard skin pillbox hat.
yeah, man, like he's taking all these blues influences and stuff that you hear in like, you know, the Yardbirds or like the Rolling Stones and things like that, but he's doing I don't know. He's doing some Mad
It just
Hatter shit
becomes
with
something
it. Yeah.
completely different. I know there's just something going on in his brain that's unlike any of his peers.
Because, yeah, Leopards, it's like kind of Chicago blues, but it's kind of like this manic, like, I don't know what the hell it is. It's
At some point, I was trying to think of a visual like corollary to the sound of Bob Dylan, and for some reason, I thought of like a plate sliding off of a table, careening through the air and then smashing on the floor. So I actually fell in love with this album. Well, I guess I should say I fell in love with Dylan one summer, which I talked about in the Hendrix episode for Band of Gypsies too. When there was a Vietnam vet who would call into my radio show every day. I used to have a radio show and request songs from this album and from The Times They Are Changin', and from Bringing It All Back Home, and say that that's what he would listen to in Vietnam. But then I was given a re-release of this album by my dad, who was never been a big Dylan fan, but always like bought the Dylan re-releases because he's like, well, maybe I'll start to like Dylan now. And it was like it was 3 CDs stacked on top of one another in this tall case, like a book that folded out. And I remember poring over that like again and again one summer when he gave it to me. But there's just so much good music on here. What else do we have?
just like a
So
woman.
Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands.
Oh,
Come
God.
on.
For his wife, yeah.
Let's just check out these pictures real quick before we call it a day here, because there's some great photos in here. What do you think they're whispering about here?
Ooh, I don't know.
I got the speed. The speed guy's here.
Yeah, dude, the Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands takes up the whole last side of that second EP.
Wow, does it
or
really?
LP. Yeah, I think there's a great... He references that song in... it's... What is it? The album... what is the album right before... It's right before Blood on the Tracks. It's like right when he broke up with his wife. They'd been married for, what, like 5 years. They had a few kids together. Mm-hmm. But there's a song called Sarah about her. And there's this line, he's like, I stayed up for days in the Chelsea Hotel writing Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands for you.
That sounds really sad.
It's a super sad song. That's a really good album. I'm forgetting what it's called, but it's got the song about the boxer on it. Hurricane.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hurricane, Mozambique.
And then Denzel Washington played that guy.
Not on the album, but yeah.
He's not on the album.
He's not on the album.
Doing
Yeah.
a voiceover.
As like a 10-year-old.
Well, there you go. Blonde on Blonde. I mean, I don't think we need to say much else about this album, right? Go listen to it. It's a classic. Thank you for bringing it in.
Yeah, man.
And it just likes an age to play tricks when you're trying to be so quiet.